Hello, my friends. How's everybody doing? Dr. Ziv Simon here in my office in Beverly Hills. The doctor you see behind me is my partner and my friend, Dr. Ari Rosenblatt. He's saying hello. He's doing his charts. Busy day for us here in the office. Thanks for joining us for session number 3. So happy to see everybody on board here. And welcome, Miguel. Welcome, Dr. Abzi from Jordan. I didn't forget, it's not Egypt. So we're going to start very, very shortly. Just check into the room, into the broadcast room. Let me know where you're from, and also let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. We are now in our 3rd session. We have 3 more to go, and then the course is over. Okay, but I think the course is over, but you're just starting to perform and learn about crown lengthening, and that means that you're starting your implementation process. Okay, so acquire as much as you can. Alrighty, so welcome, Miguel, again. Who else is in the room? We got now 17 out of the 42 registered for session number 3. I hope everything was clear, and I'm happy to see that a lot of the doctors are already interacting with me as part of the platform, asking questions, and I think I'm pretty good about answering, right? It's just so easy, so accessible that as long as I'm not sleeping, I can get your question and give you a quick reply in the right page. So we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Okay. Let me know if you can see or hear me. Okay. Okay, let me see. Rashad, let me know if the stream is on or offline. If not, I'm going to log off and start all over again. Okay, let me try that. Okay, can everybody see the text message? Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I'm online. Okay, Mohammed can see me. Okay, good, good. It was a false alarm. I think we are online. Let me see. Let's have some more doctors giving us some confirmation that indeed you're getting this broadcast live into your computer or your smartphone or your tablet. Okay, so you can see me. Looks like you can hear me. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Fantastic. Okay, good. So we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. And in session number 3, I'm going to focus on preparation for aesthetic crown lengthening. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Grace. Nice to see you back in the broadcast. And similar to what we did with functional crown lengthening, I'm going to talk about how to set up the case, because aesthetic crown lengthening is a total different ballgame. It's a total different procedure, obviously, but the mindset is also completely different compared to functional crown lengthening. We're not dealing with a major necessity. We're not dealing with health. This is a purely elective and aesthetic procedure, and the stakes are high because you're operating in the aesthetic zone. Everything counts. Your patients are seeing you because of the aesthetics. They want to look better. So that's also what makes this procedure so wonderful, and the results are incredible if you follow all the rules. So I hope you're going to gain a lot from this session, and we're going to get started. Why not? Everybody is here, and please feel free to engage with me as part of the chat on the right-hand side. I'm going to look at your questions and answer as I go. Okay, so let's get started. Alrighty. Okay, so session. Welcome to session number 3 as part of the program on aesthetic crown lengthening. Okay, Angela, you cannot see me. One time you said yes, one time you said no. Can you see and hear me well? Okay, I'm going to wait. Okay. Can you see my slide? Can you hear my voice? I'm going to wait for a yes. and then we'll get going. Okay, we had some microphone issues last week. Dr. Rashad Ryman on the other line can hear me loud and clear. Bill can hear me. Angela says I'm good. Angela, we still have to talk and get you going, and everything will be fine. Alrighty, so let's get started. In this session, I wanted to focus on how to prepare for aesthetic crown lengthening. And really, if you miss out on the preparation part of this procedure, you're going to miss out on the whole procedure. Your patients are not going to say yes. So a great part of today's session is to talk about what's unique with your aesthetic cases. It's a complete story. Your patients are seeking the treatment that is elective, and they really don't have to do this. It's pure aesthetics, and that's what sometimes makes it a little bit more challenging. So in this session, I'm going to talk about how to set up an aesthetic case. And when I say set up, not just prepare for it clinically, but also get into the mindset of performing aesthetic surgery, and also how to set up the case for your patient agreeing for treatment and positioning yourself as the right person to do this, okay? So the most important part of this whole journey in aesthetic surgery is the consultation. Okay, this is why I put it in capital letters, in bold, underlined, and to make a point. It's the most important part. So don't think that you can, in 5 minutes, consult with a patient about aesthetic crown lengthening, and they'll say yes, and everything will be fine. Number one, you will not have enough information. You will not have enough knowledge about what this patient's particular problems are, their need, what is their agenda, and you will not create enough rapport, enough goodwill for the patient to say yes. So put a lot of effort in the consultation process, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do. I'm not going to hide anything from you. It's not going to be any special secret that only if you learn about. I'm going to show you exactly the methods and even the script, the exact words that I'm using in my practice. And I'm going to show you as part of it what type of photos to use, what type of records to take, not just to prepare for the actual surgery, but also to demonstrate certain points and communicate with your patient. And I'm going to share, as I said, the script, and I'm going to say it just the way it is, word by word, and you can make it your own. That if you follow these steps and you put in the time, you will be able to get great case acceptance, okay? So Phil is ready. Dr. Phil Mendelowitz from Los Angeles, my good friend. Okay, now all the slides in this presentation will be posted in week number 3. So there'll be a PDF that includes all the slides, because it'll be very important for you to look back at the text. And I'm also going to, and the insurance issue, and we want to see if the fee issue is going to be different than functional crown lengthening. Let's see. And I'm going to keep it at the end as usual, because I want you to go through this presentation, and only then I'll talk about the fees. So the consultation is the most critical part, because this is your key to diagnosis. This is the key to case acceptance and figuring out what is the best treatment for every case. Now, every case is totally different. Now, if you walk down the street, I'm sure you see that talks differently, everybody looks differently, okay? Everybody has different circumstances, and the same thing goes for our patients. Everybody is totally different. We have men and women, totally different animals, right? As you probably know by now. And if you're married, then you really have the proof. So my point being, look at every patient as an individual with very, very individual needs, concerns, agenda, background, and it's not always the obvious. So you almost need to be like a psychologist and understand the psyche of every patient, not just to be a good surgeon. That's the obvious. You need to do a good job. but you need to understand every patient's psyche, attitude, their strengths and weaknesses, and really what are they desiring deep inside when they come to see you. Okay, it's not always the obvious, and I'm going to demonstrate with two cases. So it so happens that you do master surgery and master the technical and sometimes laborious part of surgery. That's sure that we're doing this. We're going over the procedure step by step. You really need to master influence and human interactions and human relationships. And that's not something that they teach you in dental school or in graduate school or anywhere in life. You learn it yourself if you have intuition and if you get educated. And I found that the best way is really just reading books on the topic. And I made 4 recommendations for learning and trying to master the game of influence. And starting with Jim Rohn, who was really one of my mentors that I learned from, all about communication and the art of persuasion. Now, we don't have to be a car salesman. That's really not my point, but you need to understand the psychology of the patient in order to influence them and to market your ideas that you believe and I believe are good for them. Okay, that's really our duty to do a good job in marketing and have good case acceptance. It's not just a monetary thing and building your practice. That too, that's very important. And that's one of our goals running the business of dentistry or practice. But it's our duty to market our recommendations and make sure that the patient understands why these things are important and why you are the best person to do the step of treatment. So this book really helped me in the communication skills. The other book is a very How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a classic book you really need to read. I'm not going to go too much into the details, but it's really the basics of human communications and relationships. And then a good book, especially for dentists, is called Ego is the Enemy, okay, by Ryan Holiday. Great book to read. And it'll show you that you are your own worst enemy. And when you present a treatment plan to your patient, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about your skills and how much you know and how educated you are and what a good doctor you are. It's really about the patient. And that shows you the other perspective. And the last book, if you have time, is I listen to audiobooks, by the way. So I never read. I just listen to them in the car. And I got to a capacity of almost a book a week. Maximum 2 weeks I get through at least a book or two. Is the book Click, that talks about why do humans click. Very scientific, but very fun to read, and makes you understand. Actually, something clicked in me when I read this book, because it makes total sense and it will help you with your influence. Okay, so the number one thing that you need to establish, and of course you need to do your exam and go over the medical and dental history, and you need to get to know the patient and do the probing and all the other stuff we talked about and evaluate the x-rays, of course. But one of the most important things, and for me it's number one, is to understand what is the motivation of this patient to seek, not always the obvious. So don't look at the obvious, meaning it presents to us, and let's say we're talking about aesthetic crown lengthening. If a patient presents to us with a gummy smile, sure, the obvious is they want to show less gums and they want to have normal looking teeth and they want to look better, but that's on the superficial level. What's deep inside? What's their motivation? Is this a man or a woman that is single, or is it a man or a woman that just got separated or divorced and they're looking for another relationship? Is it, for example, an actor looking for a job and not being able to book anything because of problems with the aesthetics of the smile? Look at or they're afraid to get old. There are a lot of other things that psychologically are deep inside, and it's really not that difficult to figure out if you ask the right questions. And I'm going to start with this first patient that came in wanting to improve his smile. And I ask a million questions, and of course I examine the patient, go over all this, but I really try to figure out what's this patient's motivation to seek treatment, what really bothers them, and why do they want to do this? Why do they want to spend time and some pain and suffering a little bit when you get surgeries done? It does hurt a little bit. What's their motivation? So this patient is an actor, and he acts in movies and on TV, and he's actually a working actor. And he told me an interesting story that he was auditioning for a toothpaste commercial and didn't get it. And all the other actors that were auditioning for the same commercial, he looked at them that they had beautiful teeth. So he had some, like a complex that his teeth are not good enough for a Colgate commercial, a toothpaste commercial. So that's one of the things that really motivated him to go move forward. And he's 50, 51, maybe a little 50-year-old crisis. I'm not there yet. In 5 years, I'll be there. So, I'll let you know how it feels like. But he feels old. He feels worn. He feels that his teeth are worn. And having small teeth makes him feel that he was wearing his teeth, meaning he's old. So that's kind of underlying the chief complaint of having a beautiful smile. Feels old, and he wants to be a little bit more confident on camera. That's the toothpaste commercial story. So you need to study your smile. You need to study all the elements of the smile that we know about, and proportions and everything that actually I talked to you about many times. But in order to study the smile, you need to study the patient first. You need to study the patient. You need to know what's behind this bothering the patient. And and I asked them so many questions. And I asked them about their family, where they grew up, and how many siblings, and are they afraid of the dentist, and where they're from, and what type of food they like to eat. And it all comes through the form. And I spend a lot of time talking to them. And I found out that this patient just had a great relationship with his grandmother. Okay, and I put a picture here. That's just a picture I got from on the web of I just typed in grandma. Okay, and that's one of the pictures that came out. I felt it was appropriate. But his grandma was very big into church, right? She was a religious woman. But she was also a burlesque dancer, okay? A burlesque dancer. And I'm not going to explain online what's a burlesque dancer, okay? You can only imagine, okay? It's a beautiful form of art, or art form. So I noticed that this patient had a very close relationship with his grandmother. And I thought it was beautiful. But I took a mental note of that, and it came handy later on. The first thing that I do, once I'm done with the examination, and if I wanted to make this patient smile, I'm going to stand in front of them with my camera, and my camera is big, it's huge, it has a tremendous lens and strong flash, and actually you feel like a heat wave coming to you when the flash is hitting you. So it's not very conducive to smiling. So I asked the patient, give me a little smile, show me your teeth, show me your gums. Think how much fun it is to visit the dentist. And I try to make them go, I'm not the funniest guy in the world, not the funniest guy, and I'm trying my best. But I'm looking at this patient's smile. He's not giving me a natural smile. It's a fake smile. It's an inhibited smile. Although he's an actor, I'm trying my best, and I'm getting a little bit progress here. And I wish I could show you his eyes. I mean, his eyes are just great eyes. He smiles with his eyes, but he's not smiling with his mouth. I'm trying to make him smile as best as I can. And then I told him, what? Try to imagine your grandma dancing burlesque. Just imagine. I got him. I got him to smile. I got him to giggle. I got him to laugh. Okay? I call it gotcha. Okay? Try to do these things. It's nothing to do with a sense of humor or having some magical skills. If you get connected, if you connect with this patient and vice versa, if they connect to you and they share some personal things that could be borderline humorous, funny, intimate, not that intimate, but a little bit, they will start to trust you, because we trust people. It goes both ways, but if we start to trust people, we tell them more, we feel more comfortable. And if we don't, it's the other way around. And that was my way to get to this patient, okay? So I got him, okay? So now I can see some of the problems. I can start looking more specifically at problems. I can look at the gum tissue, the shape of the teeth. I can start seeing that this patient has very short teeth. Okay, the canine is worn, so he's right. Okay, short teeth. Worn teeth are associated with old age. Short premolar. And there's a little bump there, okay? I'm going to talk about it next week when I talk about the case. This bump is going to haunt us, okay? A bump is usually a sign of an infection, okay? But I'm going through the different photographs that I took, and I'm trying to see and get some clues what can help this patient in terms of the aesthetics, okay? So definitely short teeth, excess gum tissue, good gum, a lot of attaching keratinized tissue, and also a bridge on the upper left, a 3-unit bridge, okay? And also from a gingival level point of view, we need to take this into account because there's a pontic where tooth was missing for quite some time, and that's going to be an issue. Now, if a patient tells you my teeth are short, okay, let's find out. Are they really short? Let's measure the length, okay? 10 millimeters is slightly below the average, so not super short, okay? Both teeth are actually long. And I'll make all the absolute measurements. I know we like things, but take photos with a periodontal probe around the teeth, because when you write up the chart, when you plan the case, when you communicate with the lab, you will not have it in front of you unless you took an impression. So take some photos. And once you're done with your absolute measurements, and you don't have to do it for every tooth, but do it at least for the centrals and the laterals. Once you do that, move on to choose proportion gauge, which will show you the ideal proportion, the ideal width to height ratio of a particular tooth. And if you remember how to look at choose proportion gauge, if the tooth extends between the red mark, it should be long as the red mark, and it's as long as the incisal edge stays the same. And I showed this to you many, many times in previous training and also in videos. So hopefully this concept is clear. If not, put it in the chat box. Okay, so I'm using choose proportion gauge, taking pictures, and I want to make sure that I have, I want to see how much bone, how much tissue is excessive, as long as the incisal edge is the same, stays the same. Now, why all these photos? Why is that important? Why I'm so obsessed with taking so many pictures? Patient by themselves, meaning smiling, retracted, all sorts of angles, with a probe, with chew. Why am I taking all these photos? So it's important for planning. I'm learning. I'm educating myself about this patient's smile, but I'm also sending a message. It's a very important message that I want you to focus on. And sometimes doctors ask me, how do you get this case acceptance? And patients say, yes, you must be practicing in Beverly Hills and everybody can afford expensive treatment. That's not the case. I'll be honest, not all my patients are very wealthy. This patient is not very wealthy. Not at all. So I'm taking these photos with emphasis on the details to send a message. I'm looking into everything, that I'm an expert in this field, that I have a certain idea in my head that I'm now trying to explore and research and plan what's good for this patient. That instills a lot of confidence in you as a doctor. And remember, the most important thing is confidence. You presenting confidence and your patient having confidence in you. And that's everything you need to know about case acceptance. It's just likability and confidence. And these are the two things that I work on the hardest during the consultation appointment. Technically, it will all go fine, okay? So all these photos and all this documentation, it's important for teaching, but I'm sending a message to the patient that they're in the right hands. So when a patient is telling you, my teeth are, basically they're telling you, I feel old and I want to look younger. So younger looking teeth have normal proportion, they're longer. We know that young people exhibit more of their incisal edge in a smile. As we get older, we show less of the incisal edge, so increasing incisal edge position is a pretty good guarantee to look younger. And this patient also has an insecurity about not being accepted to a commercial and maybe not looking that confident on camera. So when I think about this patient's concerns, I listen very carefully. I repeat and I explore, and I asked him to tell me more. Tell me more about it. Tell me about the commercial for toothpaste. Tell me about your experience in the audition, and what did you feel like? What did you feel like these other actors had that you don't have? Tell me a little bit more about that, okay? So it's like playing a little bit of a psychologist, okay? Not to solve psychological problems, but to figure out what is the hidden agenda behind this patient's chief complaint. I hope I make this point clear. So pay attention. I'm going to give you now the that I'm using, and I showed this to you already in one of the webinars promoting this course. In the webinar on the secrets of aesthetic surgery, I talked about the script, but now we're going to get more into details because you bought into the course, you committed yourself to learning. So I'm committing myself to give you more details. Okay, so you finished examining the patient, you have all the data, you have all the x-rays, you made all the measurements, you have an idea in mind already. You're thinking restorative treatment, you're thinking crown lengthening, aesthetic crown lengthening, we're thinking about changing gingival levels, implants, things like that. Okay, you already have a certain idea in mind. I'm going to talk about this patient's treatment next week, but this is what I tell the patient. Okay, the first thing I say is good news. Good news. Your teeth are actually not that short. Okay, they're not that short like you think they are. You're right, some are worn, but some of your tooth structure is hiding under the gum. And your gums can be adjusted. And we have a very effective treatment for that. Let's see the potential here. Okay, so this is the script, and when I say let's see the potential here, you can also ask it as meaning you can make it into a question. Do you want to see the potential? You want to see what is possible for you? Would you like to see a mock-up? Would you like to see some simulation of how your smile is going to look like? So you can turn it into a question as well. Now, every word is intentional and measured. And again, you don't have to repeat the same script. You can make it your own. Okay, don't feel that you have to repeat and be me and I cannot be you. Okay, everybody is individual. So I wanted to explain what's behind the script, and then you can make different or say it in different words that fit your personality. Okay? So when I say good news, I mean I want to encourage you. I want to give you something positive to start with. We all like to hear the good news first, and it's not a time where I tell you the good news first and there's bad news. Okay, that's not my intention. That's for different other circumstances. Good news is a word of words of encouragement, and that his teeth are actually not that short. It's not just that he's not that old. There is some wear, right? You're a little bit old, okay? 50 years old, okay? And you got like another 40 years to go, 50 years to go, who knows? And really some of the tooth structure is hiding under the gum. So what you're doing, you are breaking the belief system. Okay, that's one of the keys for influence. You're taking somebody, a person, human being that has a certain belief, and in a couple sentences, because you're an expert, because you are trained in this field, you are breaking their belief system. Okay, we're not talking about politics here. Okay, we're talking about dentistry. And what it does, it creates attention, and it creates a positioning status of an expert. Okay, and when I say your gums can be adjusted, that's besides giving encouragement. There's something to do. You're not in a hopeless situation. So I'm giving good news for this particular situation. Okay. Now, when I say we have a very good and effective treatment for that, you are positioning yourself as an expert, as a doctor who has the experience. You can say also, we've treated many, many cases like that. We've treated many, many with the same type of problem. That's positioning you as an expert. Okay, very, very important for influence, very important for case acceptance. Now, when I pose a question, do you want to see the potential, or do you want to see how it's going to look like, or what's possible here? That creates curiosity and intrigue, also a source of great influence and charisma. Okay, so these are very, very important things that you can adapt in your own words and be able to say it very naturally. And you don't have to read the script. And I change it around every once in a while, but I follow the same guidelines because it just comes extremely natural when a patient comes in with a problem and I figured out, what's hiding behind this patient's agenda, what's kind of underneath, what's the deeper layer of their problem. I can custom make what I'm telling them. And I'm going to show you another case, and I say things a little bit differently. So when I tell them, talking about a simulation, and I'm not going to show you how to simulate aesthetic chronic thing. A lot of you guys already saw the videos. You saw the videos in the course and some of the previous ones. And hopefully you have the very inexpensive Photoshop Element software. And I use it for one purpose only. I use it to simulate aesthetic crown lengthening. You don't have to spend thousands on an expensive software. It's very simple. It actually works very well. And I perform the simulation in front of the patient's eyes. And what it does to case acceptance, it just makes it so much more effective. It makes it so much more believable, because what you're doing, you are not only showing them how they're going to look like, you're putting them in a certain place in the future where their smile is going to look so much better and so much more aesthetic, so they can already envision themselves having the smile. Guess what it does to case acceptance? It obviously increases that, but more than that, you're positioning yourself as an expert, as somebody who does it all the time. If you're not comfortable simulating, back and watch the few videos that I have. They just show you step by step. I think each video is maybe 5-10 minutes. That's all it takes to learn. It's extremely simple. So all you need for the simulation, and I encourage you to take these pictures anyhow, is a good smile photo and a retracted photo. And of course you need the software, and you import these pictures into the software. And the reason I like to simulate on both of these photos, first I just show them the principle, and I do a simulation on the retracted view without the smile. And then I transition into the smile photo, and ideally in the context of the face, so they can see their eyes. I'm not going to show you the patient's eyes. I need to block them for HIPAA rules. But they can now visualize themselves and envision themselves in the future when they're looking so much better. Okay, so you can do it just in front of their eyes, change the soft tissue, and if you notice, change the central incisors, because they were, I think, 10 millimeters in length, and I felt, oh, that's enough. But we ended up actually lengthening them because our other simulations and our wax up show that we need to do that, and we'll see this next week. So don't underestimate the power of simulation. It's one of the best things around, first of all, clinically, to understand if this is a good procedure for the patient, but it does wonders to your case acceptance and your positioning. So what I do, I simulate, and it probably takes me a couple minutes, and I do it relatively slow, and I get a simulation going. I put the pictures side by side, and simulated view is on the right-hand side. And of course, we're not changing the color of the teeth at the moment, but I basically show this to the patient. I look at them, and I say something like, what do you think? So what do you think? I keep it in mind. I may throw in something personal. Let's say this patient, the Colgate commercial. What do you think? Will they now accept you for the commercial? And I pause and I let them think about it. I let them look at the photos. I want to see their reaction. And basically what you're trying to do here is let the patient see what you're suggesting. Now, some patients may say, you know what, I'm not ready for that. These teeth are too long for me. I'm used to my gummy smile. And I'd like to stay the same. Now, this is a wonderful thing. Thank God you didn't do it. Thank God it just stays in a digital world, in a file. But a lot of these patients are coming to see you because they want that. And that's exactly what they envisioned. And you'll get better at simulating, okay? So what do you think? And you pause. Now, you can also change the color of the teeth. Absolutely. Now, I'm not a graphic designer. You need to do some research. Tools, the blemish tool to erase spots, and the clone tool. Absolutely, you can whiten teeth. You can change the hue. You can do a bunch of things. I never looked into that because I'm not a restorative dentist, but you can certainly do that. And I bet, David, if you look it up online on YouTube, you'll find a video that explains how to do that very simply. And I'm happy to explore this with you. Now, don't jump and start cutting and removing tissue and booking the patient for surgery without understanding the different steps of aesthetic quality cleaning. Okay, you need to know step by step. And I'm going to review this in session number 4. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye after tonight. We're going to have a great weekend. I'm going to San Francisco, so I'll have some relaxation there, but I'll think about you, and I'm still available to answer questions on our different forums. But next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to talk about the step-by-step and the checklist. Okay, so this is one patient. Now, that was a different patient, a young woman, total different psychology, total different desire, total different agenda for this patient. And again, I encourage you, don't spend the time just examining and suggesting the proper treatment. And when the patient tells you, I have short teeth and I'm showing too much gum tissue, yes, that's all true. But there's some other things there, number one. Number two, why is she saying that? I mean, she has a pretty decent smile. Why does she need to have these, some imperfection corrected? Is she single? Is she a little bit depressed about what the patient is? But try to read between the lines, ask all the guiding questions, ask them about their motivation, and you'll do so much better in terms of case acceptance. And number three, also what's realistic? You see, this patient came to see me for a couple of reasons. Number one, black triangle. Okay, I can tell you right now, it's not possible to fix. Okay, you can go home if that's the only reason. But this patient was concerned with the triangle. She was concerned with the bulky tissue between the central incisors. Okay, it looks like a papilla that got squished during ortho, which is the reason. Or a frenectomy gone bad, who knows? And she's also concerned with the excessive tissue showing around the lateral incisor on the right and the central incisor, some teeth proportions. And that is very different from the left side. Okay, we have a difference between right and left. So we have basically an asymmetrical smile. So these are the things that I'm going to look at. And I would tell you to study the smile, study the patient first. Not everybody, just met this person. You just, who wants to get, have a camera in their face, start smiling naturally? Very rarely. So you really have to dig in deep, ask them about their hobbies, ask them about their family. If they had some tragedies in their life, they lost a spouse, a parent, a child, show your humane side, your sensitive side, and basically bond with them, communicate with them, be humane, and that's going to pay dividends. And besides, it's so much more fun to practice in an environment where people communicate and it's not just technical, boom, 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 doing the work and on to the next. It's not fun. Okay, we crave human relationships. We crave sensitivity and talking to one another. Okay, maybe that's why I like to teach, and that's why I talk to so many dentists. Okay, I like the social and cumulative. Okay, so do that. Study the patient first, and then study the smile. What's their motivation? Okay, and again, we don't have to get too much into the detail. This patient is single, just went through a breakup. Okay, she wants to look better now. Okay, what can we do to make her smile look better? Okay, and here we have one in a different level of the gingiva between right and left. I think that's pretty obvious. And even higher on the canine. Okay, we have the black triangle. We have our swollen papilla. It looks like she had a frenectomy in the past. I think you can see the scar tissue right here above this bulky tissue. And recession on the canine. Hey, you have so many things that are technically wrong here that you can tackle, that I think it's a beautiful thing to look at the big picture. And I actually missed one point here, and I'll share this with you. So what else are you seeing here? Look very well. Don't just look at the soft tissue. Look at the tooth anatomy. Can you see a little notch on tooth number 9 on the left central incisor? It looks like somebody dropped a burr in there, a straight diamond burr, but no, it was always like that. It's some sort of a defect in the tooth, and when there's a defect in the tooth, you can grow in there and become inflamed. Now, if you look carefully, you see this is pure enamel, okay? Pure enamel in there, okay? There's nothing else in there. It's not caries. There's no caries in there. It's just a pure defect. Sometimes we have grooves in teeth that extend to the root, and sometimes we see a lingual groove, palatal groove on lateral incisors that goes through all the way to the root. Sometimes leads to the loss of the tooth. But look into that, because for whatever reason, this groove and this defect in the tooth led to some additional recession. Now, recession exposing more tooth structure. Okay. Now, let's look at some measurements. Okay, measurements. Okay, but before we look at measurements, okay, I want you to be comprehensive. We tend to be sometimes with a tunnel vision. Okay, we're looking at the tunnel vision and we're forgetting everything else. Patients coming to see us because of a gummy smile and short teeth. Be very comprehensive. Okay, this same patient has a mucogingival problem on the lower incisors that needs to be treated. It needs to be grafted, because you see what happens. The tissues will end up losing a tooth or having significant recession with the Freenet pool. This patient has recession on one side. Okay, these are things that we need to tackle. So if you're comprehensive, if you spend your time examining the patient, looking at all the problems, first of all, you're helping the patient. You're seeing what they need and what they can benefit from, which is good for them. Number two, here's the gold. Here's the gold for your practice. Here's your potential to do more, help your patients, build up your practice, increase your production. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. What's wrong with that? You're doing good in this world. You are spending the time educating yourself about this procedure. Now, I spoke to several dentists now this week alone. They told me since they took this course, they're seeing more. They're seeing more delayed eruption. They're doing more. Okay, so be comprehensive. See the potential everywhere. Okay, so let's start with absolute measures. Let's go back to the patient's chief complaint. This is about 9.5 millimeters, definitely shorter than the norm. The norm or the average is about 10.5. Okay, how about number 9? Now this tooth is longer than the norm, 11.5. Is it the normal tooth anatomy? This patient maybe lost some of the attachment, the junctional epithelium that was attached to the enamel. And we know this number runs about 1 millimeter. And that looks like recession. So definitely a discrepancy of about 2 millimeters between these two teeth. Now that does not mean we have to match them up. It may not look okay, and this is why you're looking into a proportion gauge. So we're looking at the particular proportion. Now, it's important to position them properly, okay? If you don't put it in the middle of the tooth, you see I'm skewed to the distal, so everything is thrown off. I have to put it a little bit more to the mesial, but if we want to get the right proportion, the tooth would be around, kind of between the red lines, the outside of the red lines. So it should be the outside of the upper red line. So there's some excessive tissue, and you can see even if we create normal teeth proportions for tooth number 8, it's still not going to be number 9. So what should we do? Good question. How about number 9? Is the tooth proportionate? Is the tooth proportionate? It's a bit too long for the right proportion. How about the lateral incisor? It's slightly too short. Slightly too short. If our tooth extends between the first white line, the outside of the white line, if you resect a millimeter, it will be in proportion. Should we resect the exact amount or not? So again, I encourage you not to make this decision yet. You still need to enter through a wax up. I'm going to show this next week. You still need to get into the bottom of this patient's motivation. So listen very carefully, not just to what they're saying, but what they mean, what's underlying, what's their psyche like. And this is how you're going to get them, okay? In a good way, okay? This is how you get them to say yes. So listen, repeat it, explore, ask more questions. And if they tell you, I don't like the black triangle, you can ask them a bunch of questions. I can tell you immediately 10 different questions about the black triangle. Okay, where exactly does it bother you? Which part? The part that is closer to the gum or the part that's closer to the edges? What bothers you more? The fact that it's, aesthetically, or is there saliva coming out of there? How long have you had this problem? I can just make up a lot of questions. And throughout these questions, you're trying to learn where's this problem coming from. And then I'm going to do the same thing about everything else. Okay? Now, I'm going to go through my script, okay? I'm not going to repeat again the rationale, but here you have it, and you have it in the handout. I start with the good news. I start with a word of encouragement. I break their belief system. This patient believed their teeth are short, and her teeth are actually not short. They're actually normal length, and there was some process around number 9 through the defect that caused some of the tissue loss. Okay, so I'm breaking their belief system. I'm creating some curiosity. I'm giving them hope, positioning myself as an expert, and I'm setting up the stage to create a digital simulation. Okay, same thing. I do the same protocol, roughly same script in every one of these cases. Okay, so I take both of these photos, import it into Photoshop, and I start simulating. Okay, start simulating a crown lengthening on tooth number 7 and number 8, the left, lateral, and central incisors. Now, if you just simulate with the filter called Liquify, and hopefully you watched some of the videos, hopefully some of you already have done it. Guys, it's so simple. It's ridiculously simple. You can definitely do that. Look what happens to the lip. I start to distort the lip, so don't do that. In one of the tutorials, I show you how to overcome this. So create your simulation, the lip kind of intact, so the patient is not freaking out that you're going to destroy their lip, okay? Now, when I did this simulation, the patient was like, okay, let's do it, okay? Let's get going, okay? So I did the simulation on the retracted view, and you see I'm not matching them up because I extended that much. Her smile doesn't extend that far. But what I do, I place the images one next to each other, and I just say something like, so what do you think? It's very casual. What do you think? What's your opinion? And then I pause, and I just look at the patient and see what the reaction is. And this patient said, sign me up. Let's do it. Now, what did I miss here? Okay, nobody's perfect. What did I miss in this case? How about those upper premolars? Let's look at the side view. Would it be nice to lengthen those premolars? I think the answer is yes, right? So I would encourage you again, take your time, look at the full picture, see the potential of what you're missing out, because what you're missing out is not just a loss for you, loss of production, loss of potential to grow your business and grow as a surgeon. It's a loss for the patient. Now, that may mean that we need to charge more. We need to do a separate procedure for 5 and 6. We may not, it may even cost double. Who knows? We'll talk about the cost later on. but always be comprehensive. Look at the potential. And I'm going to talk about the treatment of both of these patients next week on Tuesday. Okay, I'm not going to. So let's spend a little bit of time about the cost. What is the fee for this procedure? How much do we charge for an aesthetic crown lengthening? Last week we talked about the functional crown lengthening. We talked about some guidelines. Okay. Now again, I have to put a disclaimer there. We're not price fixing. Okay, we're not price fixing, and I'll show what it means. Do we charge per tooth? Do we charge per area? Does insurance pay for that? Okay, important questions. So price fixing is illegal. Okay, we're not price fixing. Okay, I know I have to say that because that's not something that we intend to do. All I'm doing is I'm giving you some guidelines because you're in the dark. You've never done this procedure, you have very little experience, definitely not how to handle it in terms of the charge. So we need to give each other some guidelines. And I mentioned to you for functional crown lengthening that the cost of the surgery is roughly the cost of the restorative treatment. Is it the same for aesthetic crown lengthening? That's a question. Number two, I told you, do your market research. See how much people are charging around you. How much does a specialist charge? I told you that a specialist should charge around 20% more than the restorative treatment, and a general dentist 20% less. Where of the world? And I also told you that surgery is supposed to be expensive. Patients are expecting to pay a high fee. So take all of these things into account, and in my opinion, and we can discuss it now a little bit once I'm done with this slide, I believe that the cost for an aesthetic surgery should be more than the restorative treatment. Number one, there is a lot of liability that you're taking upon yourself. You're doing surgery in the aesthetic zone. That's worth something. There's more at stake. There's more aesthetic demands. You take more time. You do a lot more planning, simulating, talking, getting a wax up, doing things behind the scenes before the surgery, calling me, okay, consulting with me, investing in courses. So I believe that you need to get paid around the cost of the restorative treatment and a little bit more than that, in my opinion. And I believe that once you start doing that and you're believing in the value that you're providing, you'll be able to 10x your investment. You'll make 10 times more, okay? And you'll keep increasing your fees. And yes, it does work. It does work, but it requires work. It requires a lot of work because not everybody is built to start getting very close with the patient and asking all sorts of questions and becoming very friendly and not intimate per se, but asking some personal questions and understanding what the patient's agenda is, creating likability, creating some confidence in you, and that increases the case acceptance. Okay, so this is really, really important. You can put in the chat box if this is clear to you. Tell me, yes, it's clear, and tell me that you'll do the research in your community. How much does a specialist charge? What's the going rate? What's the customary fee? And have an idea. Now, this patient did not need any restorative treatment. So what do we base our fee on? Okay, that's a good question. So we have to start performing these procedures, start figuring out what would be the best fee. Now, how about the staff? How do we prepare the staff? Dr. Abzi wanted to know how to prepare the family. So I'm not sure, Dr. Abzi, what you mean by the family, but a lot of families want to be involved. So you do the same thing. Actually, you double, meaning if a patient comes in with their spouse and their significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, their parents, when we treat kids or young adults, come with the parents, you do the same thing with the parents. So you have double the work, but you connect with the other party in the room. Extremely important. And you portray your confidence and you show that you know what you're doing. And you position yourself the exact same way. You just have to do double the work, facing two people. Way of the world, my friends, okay? Way of the world. That's just how the world works. It's not just good enough to be a good doctor and a good technician, a good implantologist, you have to show the value. The patient have to see that. Okay. How do we do the research for the fee? Is a great question. Do you just pick up the phone? Yeah, you could do it. Have a staff member call. Now, if the other person on the other line is not smart enough, will they tell you the fee? I don't quote any fees over the phone without seeing the patient. Okay, that's the rule. But do your research. I cannot tell you how. You have to talk. You have to be involved in the community. You have to know your specialist. If you refer the patient to a specialist and they came back, you can have an idea how much they charge. You can ask about similar procedures. There's a lot of ways to do that. You got to do the research, guys. I can't do everything for you. Okay. So David is asking an interesting question. So if the plan is a porcelain veneer on number 7 and 10, are we charging a quality fee the total cost of all 4 veneers or the cost of 1 or 2? That's a great question. You see, this is where there's a gray zone. So I look at it in general from a patient's perspective. They're expecting this procedure to be costing. So if you're placing 4 veneers, the cost of the surgery for aesthetic crown lengthening is around the cost of those 4 veneers and a little bit more, because don't forget, you're extending your flap laterally, at least 1 tooth. You have an osseous component. You are taking all the liability. You're taking all the responsibility for this case. You're performing something in the aesthetic zone where patients have high demands. You plan a lot of time talking, educating yourself, planning the case. You should be compensated for that. So yes, the full fee. Alrighty. All right. So I'm going to answer some questions now. I'm going to go on camera and again show you this was fully live, not recorded. I'm after a day of work here in Beverly Hills, and our next session number 4, is next Tuesday, January 17th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, again, I'm going to send you an invitation. You'll register and you'll attend. And I hope these sessions are helping you. I'm going to talk about the actual procedure step by step. These 2 patients that I just presented to you, I'm going to show you their procedure. Okay? Okay. Hi again, everybody. Ziv here. I hope you found this session useful. It was kind of short. I talked for about almost an hour. It felt short. Usually we spend like 2 hours, but I'm here to help you and we can answer questions. And this is information I don't talk about in any other forums. I feel this is a very safe haven. This all stays between us. This is not a type of video or presentation I can just place on YouTube. Too many tricky points, too many words and sentences that can be taken out of context. And that's not good for me. It's not good for you. It's not good for a profession. It's not good for a patient to see the behind the scenes. But I'm showing you all the hacks, all the tricks and things that I learned. I didn't make these things up. I studied them. I learned them from different clinicians, from friends, from people that I observed, and a lot of books, a lot of webinars, and a lot of education. And it's amazing. It's amazing. For $10, 10 US dollars, $20, what does a book cost? $20, that's like an expensive book. I'm not talking dental books. Dental books are in the hundreds and they're useless. And we'll talk about it later. For $10, you can get a person's life work on a certain topic. That's influence, communication, persuasion. You can read a book or listen to a book by somebody who mastered communication and persuasion. Why wouldn't you want to listen to them for 2 hours, get some pieces of information and pearls and important things that you can acquire and implement immediately for $20? and 2 hours of your time. I don't know why people don't do that. I don't know why I didn't do this my whole life. And I always like to read, but I read fiction, and fiction is great. But these books, some people call them self-help. It helps. It helps, and it makes you a better person, and it helps you, and it helped me. Take my word for it. I now, a book a week, a book every 2 weeks, that's a huge capacity. That's, I don't know, 40 books a year. That's a lot of information. And I have a lot of books in me that I want to write, and you will read, hopefully read them. Okay, you don't have to, but I have a lot of books in me that I want to write in terms of self-help in dentistry. Okay, how to become a good surgeon. The day you became a good surgeon, what are the things that are motivating you every day and pushing you to do all these things and do good things and be successful? Okay, so I want you to be successful. So let's answer some questions. Okay, enough with this motivational stuff. Okay, everybody here is motivated already. If you can spend some time with me, some of you guys are in the middle of the night. Okay, so Angela is asking, can you tell us some thoughts about fillers in the papilla? Okay, great question. And there was another question from Switzerland below during the presentation, a question about that. So Angela, just to sharpen your question is basically, can we take fillers like Restylane that are used for plastic procedures to fill wrinkles? Can we inject them into the papilla? The answer is yes, we can inject. Legality, I'm not sure. I don't think they're used for that. But more important than that, I don't think it makes any difference. How do I know? I tried it. Okay, don't tell anybody. I tried it on patients that had osseous surgery. It was very hard to inject with high pressure into a papilla that is kind of fibrotic. And if it swells a little bit, it'll shrink back because those fillers go away. They're not permanent. Last but not least, Angela, and not just, I'm not picking on Angela, I'm for everybody about fillers in the papilla. There's a reason the papilla is lost. There's a reason you have a black triangle, the papilla is gone. Why is it gone in the first place? Because bone is gone. You have horizontal bone loss. You have interproximal bone loss. The bone, the peak of bone, supports the papilla. If it's gone, so yes, you can fill it up. It's going to go right back. And that's the same reason why papilla regeneration technique, and I read all the articles, trust me, all the case reports, they all relapse. And there's never a big study that shows that. Okay, so unfortunately, the answer is no. What's going to happen in the future with tissue engineering the bone, making the bone grow in a perfect peak and making tissue grow on top of that? I know it's going to be possible, not today. Okay, don't waste your time. Richard, are there different considerations for aesthetic crown lengthening if the crowns are worn? Oh, sure. When you say crowns, you mean the natural crowns. So you did a crown lengthening procedure, there's some root exposed. What do you do for temporization? So there are two questions. Okay, that's cool. You can put two questions separately, but I think I got you. Now, if the crowns are worn, figure out what's the incisal edge position first. Don't do crown lengthening, just, okay, I got the tooth proportion because you're off. Figure out the ideal incisal edge, because sometimes you need to increase tooth length, not just gingivally, but also incisally. So start with the incisal edge. Okay, so that was question number one. How do you temporize? The same like you always temporize. The same, there's no other rules. But if you're working on veneers, do the crown lengthening first. Do it first, because you don't want to have temporary veneers for too long. You know, this surgery has to heal 6 to 8 weeks. Do your temporary veneers afterwards, after you're happy with the soft tissue, then you can create your prep and you can finalize the case restoratively. I hope it makes the question clear. Okay, let me know. Okay, let's see if there are any more questions. Okay. Okay, doctors, hit me up. I'm here for you. I'm going to San Francisco tomorrow. I'm not working tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to probably just be on Facebook and on our forum and answering your question, but I'm going to San Francisco. Okay, so Richard, it sounds like I answered your question. Incisal edge incisor length taken into consideration, and they're slightly gummy. So, wow, you have to sharpen your question. I'm sorry. I want to answer your question. So that's why I'm returning. Let me know if the answer was satisfactory. If not, then let's start again. No problem. So Grace is asking, can we use a laser to do crown lengthening? Absolutely, but only for the soft tissue. Even if it's a hard tissue laser, yes, you can use it, but you can only reduce bone vertically with a laser without reflecting a flap. Because you're talking about a flapless crown lengthening, which I don't think works very well. It has some drawbacks. So first of all, doing your initial incision, your initial soft tissue scalping, and maybe that's something for next week. If that's the case, then if that's the case, you can do your soft tissue excision with a laser. It's not a problem. Okay, I don't have any issues with that. I like blades. Okay, just keep changing them. Okay. So David is asking, and I think you emailed me about that. You put it in the chat. Brasseler says they do not have your crown lengthening kit. Is it with another company? No. It's not that they don't have my kit, and you don't need my kit. It's not my kit. Okay, I just created this arrangement. All you need to do is look up at the exact burr codes, the reference number, and these are the ones you order. Then you order burr block. You don't have to have my name on it. I mean, thank you. You don't have to put your own name. Put David on David's kit. They can customize it for you, but just look at the burrs, at the reference numbers, and then take it from there. Okay? Very good, my friends. I think we're doing pretty good here. Any more questions? David is doing well here. Happy with the thought. Very good. So I hope this session was helpful to you in preparation for an aesthetic crown lengthening. Extremely important. Remember the 5 Ps. Remember the 5 Ps from my blogs, okay? And the picture. This is something that I have here. The 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Proper planning prevents poor performance. These are the 5 Ps. It's right here, right in front of me every day. It's all real. And I know Dr. Phil loves this. And he says, Dr. Phil Mendelovitz says, if you follow the 5 Ps, you'll have 6 Ps because you'll get paid. Okay? Great. So one more question, Dr. Chris Kim. I did my first frenectomy today after watching your video on Surgical Master. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm very proud of you, Chris. How did it go? I hope it went well. Listen, I'm excited. I'm excited about what we're seeing here. This is a revolution. And this was really our intention, together with Dr. Rashad Ryman, to not just do a CE course and compete with all the, everything else that is around. We wanted to create something different, something unique, not for the purpose of being unique, but for the purpose of helping doctors like you and give you genuine support, not just teach and at the end of the course, nice. No, it's continuous. You are getting the results. You're starting to, I see your wheels actually turning, how you can take this information and apply it with your patients. You need to experience that. And surgery is an amazing skill to master. And you can only get better and better at it, okay? So a lot more good things to come. I hope you are navigating the online course well. I hope all your questions are being answered. We have now Ashley working for us as the customer service, and I know she's emailing you all the time because a lot of the doctors never gave us the address or gave us the wrong address, and we are figuring out it's not the right one. So I don't want to send the scrubs and the t-shirt and the audio program to the wrong address. So you'll be getting, at the end of this month, you'll be getting your scrubs. You're getting the exact same scrubs. I didn't order something from, just a knockoff from China. Nothing wrong with China. Something that is just cheapy. You're getting the exact same scrubs that I'm using every day. I think they're the best. I like them. Okay, and Dr. Ryman is using them as well. Okay, you're getting the same ones. You're getting the same t-shirt that I use for working out. Okay, the same one. We just wanted you to get the exact same thing, being authentic. And if you didn't get the audio program yet, it's on the way. We have to make sure we have your right address. So if you didn't get it, at surgicalmaster.com. Okay? Thanks again for watching this session number 3. We are halfway through with our sessions. We are going to meet again next Tuesday and talk about step-by-step aesthetic crown thinning. Until then, keep practicing, keep performing. Great surgery, safe surgery. I'm here to help you. Ziv Simon from Surgical Master, and I'll see you soon. See you next week. All my best. Have a nice evening.